Hello, in this video we will show you how to survive if you do not have access to food or water, or if you thought so. Let's start. Species of plants, which are thought to be tares or weeds but that actually are edible. Every season there are other edible wild plants to be found, you never have to come home empty-handed. After you have washed these 12 plants well, you can for example make a stew, soup, salad, or sauce. You can also mix them with your smoothie or make tea. Tip: buy plants such as potatoes, roots, and sprouts, since when you plant them they will multiply themselves, so you will never have to catch up. Edible wild plants. Number 1. 7 leaves. 7-leaf Aegopodium podagra. 7-leaf Aegopodium podagra. 7 leaves, also known as a chicken leg, has, as the name suggests, 7 leaves. It has a bit the structure of spinach and the taste of parsley. 7 leaves is very healthy. It contains, among other things, vitamin C, carotene, magnesium, potassium, and calcium. Edible wild plants. Number 2. Nettle. Large nettle Urtica dioica. Great nettle, Urtica dioica. The large nettle contains a lot of vitamins A and C, iron, proteins, manganese, calcium, and potassium. Do not forget to bring gloves when you pick them. As soon as you boil the plant, it loses the pricking power and you can safely eat the plant. Edible wild plants. Number 3. Plantain. Large plantain Plantago major subsp major. Large plantain, Plantago major subsp major. Plantain can usually be found in the vicinity of nettles. An advantage is that the juice of the plant works well against nettle bumps. The taste of plantain is light bitter. Pay attention. Only use the leaf of the plantain. The raw carrot is poisonous. Edible wild plants. Number 4. Dandelion. Dandelion Taraxacum officinale. Dandelion, Taraxacum officinale. Perhaps it surprises you that this plant is edible because it is seen by many people as a weed. The young leaves are good for people, except for the rabbit. If you cover these young leaves and they stay white, they are less bitter. These leaves are also known as molsla. You can also eat the yellow flowers without cooking. Edible wild plants. Number 5. Dead nettle. Dead nettle Lamium album. White dead nettle, Lamium album. White dead nettle is the smaller and non-stinging version of the nettle. The white flowers are deliciously sweet and are therefore also suitable for a dessert. You can prepare the leaves even without cooking. Edible wild plants. Number 6. Daisies. Daisies Bellis perennis. Daisies, Bellis perennis. Daisies are not just fun to make chains. You can also eat them. If you manage to pick the daisies before the flowers open, it is more favorable. The taste is less bitter but more nutty. If you put these buttons in the acid, you get the effect of capers. Edible wild plants. Number 7. White and red clover. White clover Trifolium rubens. White clover, Trifolium rubens. Red clover Trifolium pratense. Red clover, Trifolium pratense. White and red clover are especially good after they have been cooked. There are many health benefits to clover. It contains a lot of proteins, phosphorus, and calcium. Edible wild plants. Number 8. Heteracea. Ground ivy Glecama heteracea. Heteracea, Glecama heteracea. Heteracea is a plant that may not ring a bell. Just like plantain, you often see the plant in the vicinity of nettles. Heteracea is especially suitable for making tea. Like green tea, it contains strong antioxidants that help combat the aging process. Edible wild plants. Number 9. Great cattail. Large cattail Typhalotifolia. Great cattail, Typhalotifolia. You recognize the large cattail similar to the cigar-like shape when you see it on the waterfront. It is a protected plant but is not officially on the list of legally protected plant species. So it is best to check with city management or at the local visitor center if you can pick the plant. Pick the large cattail anyway, only if you know that the water is not polluted. You can eat the young shoots, with white stalk on the inside, and also the rhizomes that grow underwater. When you pick up the fluffy part of it, you can roast and eat the seeds. Edible wild plants. Number 10. Small field cherry. Small field cherry Cardamine hirsuta. Small field cherry, Cardamine hirsuta. Small field cherry, family of the cress, you can find in the winter, between the paving stones. It has a peppery taste and contains a lot of vitamin C. Edible wild plants. Number 11. Cleavers. Cleavers Galium aperine. Cleavers, Galium aperine. Galium aperine, you cannot ignore that. It often sticks to your clothes. When you cook the young shoots, the adhesive power also disappears. So you do not have to worry about the vegetables sticking somewhere on your way to your stomach. Types of berries. There are different types of berries such as red berries, black currants, white currant, blueberry, American blueberry, acai berry, gooseberry, goji berries, and cranberry that are edible and super healthy. The rowan is also one of them. There was a long time in the Netherlands and Germany that this berry was poisonous, which is not the case. To preserve the shelf life of these berries, you can best dry them or prepare them for jam or wine. The leaves of the berry plants can then also be used to make tea drinks, by first drying them and then mixing them with hot water. The most healthy berry of all is the blackberry, since there are many more nutrients and protective substances in it. Berries also help to prevent cancer, diabetes, heart and vascular disease and diarrhea. Eatable wild plants. Mushrooms. Tip: never wash mushrooms, except chanterelles and morels, but brush them clean. The fibers in a mushroom absorb a lot of water, at the expense of texture, taste, preparation, and final nutritional value. All mushrooms not in this list are not edible. 1. Tropical stock market fungus. The tropical stock mushroom, Volvarilla volvacea, better known as rice straw mushroom or rice straw mushroom, because it mainly grows on rice straw, is not as well known as edible mushroom in the Netherlands. Too bad, because straw mushrooms are very nutritious. For example, the straw mushroom contains many proteins, vitamins B1, B2, B5, B9 and B11, phosphorus, zinc, manganese, potassium, iron, copper, selenium and dietary fiber. Unfortunately, you can find canned tropical fungus mushrooms in the toko under the name straw mushrooms. Unfortunately, fungi from canned usually also contain a lot of salt. 2. Shiitake, a delicious mushroom. The shiitake, Lentinicidodes, is eaten a lot in the Netherlands, and mostly used in Asian dishes, kitchens, and restaurants. The shiitake is available in all shapes and sizes, and also fresh as well as dried, so an unambiguous nutritional value is difficult to give. 3. Oyster mushroom. The oyster mushroom, Pleurotus, is the second most eaten edible mushroom in the world, after the mushroom of course. This fungus accounts for almost 25% of the total amount of cultivated mushrooms. The oyster mushroom delivers 4.5 grams of protein per 100 grams, compared to 6 grams of carbohydrates and 0.5 grams of fat, and also contains, relatively, a lot of potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, selenium, vitamins B1, B2, B6 and D. But generally shiitakes deliver 2, fresh, to 10, dried, grams of protein per 100 grams of product, as well as many B vitamins, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 9, and a lot of potassium, vitamin D, magnesium, iron, and fibers. Try a shiitake stock, dashi, or stir-fried dish with shiitakes. 4. Cep. Fungi porcini or cep, Boletus italus, is known for its characteristic, but mild, nutty taste. The porcini is also known as king of the mushrooms because it is one of the most popular edible mushrooms in the world. The meaty hat of this Boletus, where yellow tubes come out, is reddish-brown to dark brown in color and feels somewhat sticky. The porcini mushrooms can reach a diameter of up to 30 centimeters. Cep mushroom provides only 26 kilocalories per 100 grams and no fat, nor cholesterol. The porcini mushroom supplies quite a few proteins, fibers, copper, zinc, and iron. A lot of vitamin A and vitamin C. But, in addition to many B vitamins, also a lot of sodium, which can be a link for kidney patients. Tip: fresh ceps can be kept in the fridge for 1 to 3 days, but you can prepare this mushroom on the day of purchase. Freshly you can let them soak for 30 minutes in hot water before you add them to a dish. 5. Morel as an edible mushroom. The morel, or morcella is a spongy bag mushroom. The most popular Dutch morels are the Morcella deliciosa and the Morcella esculenta, regular morel, which even grows in the Netherlands. Raw morels are poisonous, so you can only eat them after heating. Morels generally provide decent amounts of copper, iron, and manganese. Lots of vitamins B2 and B3. And surprisingly much vitamin D, since the morel is among the few mushrooms that can be cultivated and grow during the spring. The morel is all in all the most nutritious edible mushrooms. Morelge mushrooms. Note: the edible true morels should not be confused with the poisonous false morel or spring fungus, Gyromitra esculenta. 6. Chanterelle. The edible chanterelle, Cantharellus siberius, is also known as coxcomb because of the raised edge and as yolk mushroom because of the yellow-orange color. This mushroom belongs, because of its slightly peppery taste, not only the tastiest mushrooms, but also the most nutritious. The chanterelle supplies significant amounts of vitamin D, dietary fiber, vitamin B3, vitamin B2, vitamin B5, iron, potassium, copper, manganese, phosphorus, zinc, selenium and protein. As the chanterelle reaches its growth, its hat, from 3 to 10 centimeters in terms of diameter, becomes funnel-shaped with a slightly rolled edge. The smell of the white meat of this mushroom strongly resembles that of apricots. Unlike most other edible mushrooms, the coxcomb cannot be stored dry. Fresh and frozen, on the other hand, it has a surprisingly long shelf life. Unfortunately, the chanterelle cannot yet be cultivated, which makes it quite pricey. If you are looking for wild chanterelles, you have to be careful that you do not pick a poisonous mushroom species. 7. Chestnut mushroom. The common white mushroom, Agaricus bisporus, or flat portobello/portobella, once grown up, or baby bella, when it is still very small, is very healthy and belongs to the most famous edible mushrooms. Mushrooms deliver small amounts of magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, iron, and vitamin D. And a lot of proteins and fibers. But the less popular chestnut mushroom is at least as healthy, because it generally supplies more vitamin B2, B3, B11, calcium and copper. Moreover, it is more meaty and less moist than the regular white mushroom. If you buy portobellos, mature mushrooms, you can have both regular and chestnut mushrooms. The chestnut variant has a darker hat, not white, but gray-brown to light brown in color. Incidentally, the old trusty white mushroom should not be underestimated, because it is an extremely nutritious mushroom. The mushroom champignon de Paris is the full name, because it was discovered at the Pasteur Institute in Paris how you can safely cultivate mushrooms and grow. 8. Truffles, very expensive edible mushrooms. Truffles, Ascomycetes, are massive, compact mushrooms with extremely high standards and an unrivaled class. The truffle is a fungus that grows underground, especially in the area of truffle oaks. They grow in groups underground, usually in the same places that are also called truffiers. The mycelium, network of hyphae, wraps around the roots of these trees. According to Plutarch, the truffle was created by lightning on the damp ground. In the Middle Ages, truffles were regarded as something devilish. Since the 17th century, however, truffles are considered a real delicacy. Many think that the truffle is a typical French product, but 70% of the truffles are found outside of France. Especially in Italy, but also in Spain, former Yugoslavia, North America, Asia, and Africa. According to the experts, the best truffles really come from France. The French black truffle Périgord and the white Italian truffle Piedmont are the dream of every master chef. Truffles are among the most expensive mushrooms in the world because they grow underground only in the wild, in very specific places and under very specific circumstances and, as yet, cannot be cultivated successfully. So they are simply rare. Truffles were once traced with the help of well-fed truffle pigs, but nowadays mainly by dogs. This is a lot more lucrative because dogs are generally more obedient than pigs and do not consume the expensive truffles in a bite-swallowing way. Sometimes they are discovered on the basis of truffle flies that buzz above the underground truffles. The main properties of the truffle are strong taste and intoxicating smell. A truffle market can fill a complete village core with intense truffle perfume. For the nutritional value, however, you do not have to do it, because for a fraction of the average truffle price you buy significantly more nutritious mushrooms. Truffles produce a surprising amount of carbohydrates for a mushroom, but still a lot of proteins. The truffle also supplies small amounts of fat, B vitamins, potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus and iron. The black truffle is nicknamed Black Diamond, because of its exceptionally high price of about 500 to 3,000 euros. However, the white truffle is much more expensive, you pay 5,000 euros per kilo for it. 9. Death trumpet equals edible. A significantly less morbid name for the death trumpet, Craterella cornucopioides, is cornucopia or horn of plenty. The trompette de la mort looks a bit like a dark chanterelle. This rare truffle has been protected for a while and should not just be picked. This mushroom may look somewhat unappetizing, but is very nutritious, especially in dried form. The death trumpet produces healthy polyunsaturated fatty acids, phenols, flavonoids, and beta. Maitake, reishi and inakatake. The well-known shiitake/shiitake is sometimes mixed with other mushrooms that enjoy far-reaching popularity in Asian cuisines. They are often packed together in a box and sold as Asian mushroom mix or Asian mushroom assortment. Some examples of Asian mushrooms that are often mixed and eaten together with shiitakes include velvet paw, inokatake/inakatake, oak hair, maitake, kaisho, or Grifola frondosa, reishi/lingzi, Ganoderma lucidum. The advantage of such mixed boxes of mushrooms is, just as with mixed forest mushrooms, that you get a variety of essential nutrients. All these mushrooms have, according to traditional Chinese medicine, TCG, far-reaching medicinal properties due to the variety of vitamins, CO vitamins, macrominerals, trace elements, enzymes, coenzymes, and secondary components that are comparable with the phytonutrients in plants. Variation in mushrooms that you can eat. Of course, the above 10 mushroom varieties are not the only healthy types of mushrooms. There are many more edible mushrooms with a proper to fantastic nutritional composition in terms of nutritional value, nutritiousness, and nutrient density. You can think of the king boleat/king boletus, the beach mushroom/eringhai, the bundle mushroom/namco, the piopano/popular modhode, the crookswam/pom-pom blanc, the purple night mushroom/pied blue, the sheepfoot/pied de mouton, the acar padan chair/anise mushroom, the lesser trumpet mushroom, and the yellow and red/pink oyster mushrooms. Because even when Jet arrives on mushrooms, variety is an absolute must. Nutritional value of edible mushrooms. Mushrooms are about 50% dry in terms of dry weight. In other words, on average, 50% of the calories from mushrooms are supplied by protein. Mushrooms are also part of the protein-rich diet and therefore fit perfectly into a protein-rich diet. In addition, the average mushroom is very rich in minerals, potassium, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, zinc, copper, iron, manganese, and the like. The exact mineral composition logically depends on the location where the mushroom has grown and the soil on which it has grown. The average mushroom is also rich in vitamins, including B vitamins, vitamin C, and vitamin D. However, it is only those mushrooms that have grown in direct sunlight that provide vitamin D. With a vitamin D deficiency, you can do a lot of traditional eat mushroom. All in all, mushrooms should not be missing in your kitchen, because they even deliver small amounts of vitamin B1 too. How do you find water? A note before starting: always filter. Any survival expert will tell you that no matter where you find water in the wild, be it from streams, lakes, condensation on plants, etc., it should always be filtered or purified before drinking. Now, in many cases this isn't possible, as you may not have the right supplies on you. Just know that any water you ingest without purifying could carry harmful bacteria, and is a risk on your part. If your choice is life or death, that's a risk you're most definitely going to take. Some water collection methods are safer for straight drinking than others. We'll outline those below. You can filter by using pantyhoses and by cooking, sterilizing it. Start with the obvious: streams, rivers, lakes. These are your most obvious sources of water in the wild. Clear, flowing water is your best option, as the movement doesn't allow bacteria to fester. This means that small streams should be what you look for first. Rivers are acceptable, but larger ones often have a lot of pollution from upstream. Lakes and ponds are okay, but they're stagnant, meaning there's an increased chance for bacteria. Now then, how do you go about finding these bodies of water? First, use your senses. If you stand perfectly still and listen intently, you may be able to hear running water, even if it's a great distance away. Man watching bird flight path in forest illustration. Next, you'll use your eyes to try and find animal tracks. Collect rainwater. Collecting and drinking rainwater is one of the safest ways to get hydrated without the risk of bacterial infection. This is especially true in wild, rural areas. In urban centers, the rain first travels through pollution, emissions, etc. There are two primary methods of collecting rainwater. The first is to use any and all containers you might have on you. The second is to tie the corners of a poncho or tarp around trees a few feet off the ground. Place a small rock in the center to create a depression, and let the water collect. Tarp collecting water into container forest illustration. You can combine these methods and make your containers more effective by tying the poncho or tarp to funnel into your bottle or pot or whatever you have, as long as it doesn't overflow and waste water. Collect heavy morning dew. Looking for a way to collect up to a liter of water per hour? Tie some absorbent cloths or tufts of fine grass around your ankles, and take a pre-sunrise walk through tall grass, meadows, etc. Wring out the water when the cloths are saturated, and repeat. Just be sure you aren't collecting dew from any poisonous plants. Fruits/vegetation. Fruits, vegetables, cacti, fleshy/pulpy plants, even roots contain a lot of water. With any of these, you can simply collect the plants, place them into some kind of container, and smash them into a pulp with a rock to collect their liquid. It won't be much, but in desperate situations, every little bit helps. This method is especially helpful in tropical environments where fruits and vegetation are abundant. Coconuts can be an excellent source of hydration. Unripe, green coconuts are actually better, though, as the milk of ripe coconuts acts as a laxative, which will just further dehydrate you. Collect plant transpiration. Collecting water from plant transpiration illustration. Another easy option for water collection is taking advantage of plant transpiration. This is the process in which moisture is carried from a plant's roots to the underside of its leaves. From there, it vaporizes into the atmosphere, but you're going to catch the water before it does that. First thing in the morning, tie a bag, or something you can make into a bag, the larger the better, around a leafy green tree branch or shrub. Place a rock in the bag to weigh it down a little bit so the water has a place to collect. Over the course of the day, the plant transpires and produces moisture. Rather than vaporizing into the atmosphere, though, it collects at the bottom of your bag. Never do this with a poisonous plant. Tree crotches/rock crevices. Like with fruits/vegetation, this is another source that won't provide all that much water, but again, it's definitely something when the straits are dire, particularly when you're stranded in a desert. The crotches of tree limbs, or the crevices of rocks, can be small collecting places for water. In an arid area, bird droppings around a rock crevice may indicate the presence of water inside, even if it can't be seen. To remove water from crotches and cracks, stick a piece of clothing or cloth in, let it soak up any moisture, and wring it out. Repeat if you can, and return after a rain for a fresh supply. Dig an underground still. Underground still for collecting water in wilderness. From Army Survival Manual FM 21-76. The benefit of creating a still is that it provides a reliable, fairly substantial source of water, compared to other methods, and you know roughly how much you'll be getting, which helps you plan and ration better. There are above ground and underground varieties of sills. The underground is your best bet as it collects more water, but the above ground variety can be useful if you are extremely energy depleted and can't dig a large hole. Directions for your underground still. Supplies. Container, the largest you have. Clear plastic sheeting. Digging tool. Rocks. Optional, something to act as a drinking tube/straw, camel box straw, bamboo/other plant. Instructions. Find an area that gets sunlight most. Cold/snowy. Specific tips: melt snow and ice. Especially in the mountains, snow and ice are abundant well into the summer months, and sometimes all year round. If you're by or on the ocean in a polar region, look to icebergs for a source of fresh water and for old ice that has been through rains and thaws. As opposed to salty ice, which is opaque and gray, freshwater ice has a bluish color and crystalline structure, and splinters easily with a knife. If you're in a boat and surrounded by salt water, capture some in a container, and allow it to freeze. The fresh water will freeze first, while the salt will accumulate as slush in the middle. Remove the ice and discard the slush. While snow and ice provide an excellent source of water, it should always be melted and purified first. Eating straight snow/ice will lower your body temperature, which dehydrates you because it forces your metabolic rate to speed up in order to keep you warm. The best way to melt snow/ice and make it actually taste good is to simply mix it with other water you may have, even small amounts, and slosh it around until the snow melts. If you are heating it, add a little bit of other water to it. Heating snow/ice directly can actually scorch it and produce a foul-tasting drink. Dig wells. Start digging. Anywhere you see dampness on the ground or green vegetation, dig a large hole a few feet deep, and you'll likely get water seeping in. The same is true at the feet of cliffs, in dry riverbeds, at the first depression behind the first sand dune of dry desert lakes, and in valleys/low areas. You may not be successful, but you just might. This water will of course be rather muddy, so it will especially need filtering/purifying, but you'll have a water source nonetheless. Avoid water substitutes. In any desperate survival scenario, you may be tempted to try non-water liquids as a substitute for the real thing. In all but the most dire of situations, these should be avoided. In general, non-water substitutes only worsen your heat and vigor. These substitutes, and their harmful characteristics below. Alcohol. Dehydrates and clouds judgment. Urine. Contains harmful body waste and is about 2% salt. Blood. May transmit disease. Also has high salt content. Seawater/sea ice contains 4% salt. It takes more water to rid your body of the waste from seawater than what you get from it. Just depletes your body's H2O supply. Of course, if you're a Bear Grylls fan, you'll know he famously drank his own urine while in the Sahara Desert. Is this safe to do, or was that for entertainment purposes? If you're down to your very last resort, drinking your urine can keep you alive for another day or two. It's 95% water, but that other 5% is comprised of waste products that will ultimately lead to kidney failure if subsisted on for more than a very short period of time. And of course, as you get more dehydrated, this method becomes even more dangerous. Before you resort to drinking your own pee, exhaust all the methods outlined above first. With a little effort, knowledge, and ingenuity, there's a good chance you will be able to find genuine H2O, making drinkable water from seawater. Distillation creates drinkable water by heating salt water until it evaporates, then capturing the concentration. How to make good fires. We have 3 kinds of very popular and good fires. 1. All night, continues all night. 2. Swedish torch, cooking or heat. 3. Upside down fire, heat for very long time. All night fire. The name says it, this fire can stay on all night and give warmth. How to make the fire. You have 2 large and 2 smaller logs with the same size. With the large hood you remove the bark on one side, and with the smaller ones on the top and bottom. This ensures that it does not roll away and that it will burn faster. You put the 2 small logs on the big one within between some small flammable branches, and then put the other big log on top of it, and light the fire. Swedish trochee. You just need 3 or 4 logs of the same height, you put them together, or one large one and saw 3 to 8 gaps. Throw some sticks and fibers between them and light them. This fire is most used to cooking, because you can easily prepare a pan on it. Upside down fire. Once an upside down fire is lit, it will burn by itself for hours. There is no need to babysit it and keep adding wood over time. You can light your upside down fire and then focus on other tasks like setting up camp, preparing food, or just relaxing with your fellow campers. Being self-feeding makes an upside down fire an excellent choice if you want to keep a heat source burning through a long, cold night. As it is self-feeding, you will be able to build it before bed, light it, and then keep warm without having to climb out of your sleeping bag or shelter. Where can I use an upside down fire? An upside down fire can be used pretty much anywhere you would build a traditional fire. It can be a great option for many applications. Survival cooking, camping, bonfire, barbecue, wood stove, in-home fireplace, rubbish disposal. Step 1. Clear your fire pit. You are going to lay your base layer of logs down in the next step, so you will want your pit clear of debris and as level as possible so the fire you build will not topple over as you build it up. How to build an upside down fire. Clear your fire pit out. Step 2. Lay down the base logs. You are going to build your base layer first. This means use the largest logs you intend to burn and lay them down parallel to each other. Have the logs all touching each other so there are no gaps between them, and it is best if the tops of them are relatively level with each other so you will have a nice sturdy base to build the rest of your fire upon. Step 3 and 4. You do the same thing only with smaller logs each layer, and you lay them in the other direction. Step 5. On the top you lay small branches, tools. You can make tools of stone or bones if you do not have it at hand. How you do this is simple. You pick 2 stones or 1 stone and a bone. You will smash 1 stone piece on the other or on the bone. The flakes of this can be used as knives, and the larger ones as spearhead or axe. Make a rope. Step 1. You remove the bark from the tree in as large as possible. Step 2. Yes, strips the tree and the bottom of the chimney of its fiber. Step 3. You pull the fibers into smaller pieces. Do this all in the middle. The outcome of the big depends on what kind of rope you want to make and for which you want to use it. Step 4. I will show you this in a short video on YT, where they show this, as it is difficult to explain this and find it in the image.
Offset it. Now this is the bit that confuses people. You have to twist them in opposite directions. I twist forward with my right and backwards with my left until it does that. Okay. Now I'll pinch that with my left fingers and my right hand is going to do all the work. So right hand continue twisting away until it's nice and tight. and I reach around with my smaller fingers on the same hand and I rotate towards me. Move my pinch forward and do exactly that same process. Just keep moving forward. And this, once it becomes second nature, you just start speeding up. And like you were saying earlier, where the tribes or the individuals, indigenous individuals, were working away in winter, you see you don't need light for this. It just becomes a muscle memory where you just continue working through.
You can make 3 kinds of spears. A standard and is therefore the easiest, by making a point at the end. The stone point, you do first by making a split on one side of the stick, and place stone or bone point that you have made between them. The fish spear, this is made by making 1 of 2 splits on one end in the stick. Knife. This can be made in the same way as a spear but smaller. Axe. This is made in the same way as a spear or a knife, only the stone or bone piece is larger and it is inserted horizontally. What not to do. If you want to survive, it is always said that the first thing you have to look for is food, but this is not true at all. The first thing you have to do is find drinkable water, find or make a shelter, and then look for food. Since a person can live without food for a long time and not without water, and without a shelter, the chance of sickness is much greater, and reduces your chance of survival. Eat snow against dehydration. This is indeed an option. If you melt the snow, you will not get water if you just eat it. This will also reduce your body temperature so that you can get sick faster. Here can also be bacteria who are harmful. If you have been frostbites, you have to rub that place. You should not do this because this will only make the situation worse. What you do better is to find a warm shelter, clothes, and drinks, to warm yourself up again. It is best not to do this near fire as you can easily burn yourself without knowing it yourself. Moss grows on the north side of the tree. This is not true in a forest, as moss often grows where there is low sunlight, but since trees give each other shade, moss will grow on all sides. You better buy a compass. As a shelter you have enough with a roof over your head. This is not true. You also have to make a bed, because if you sleep on the floor you can freeze to death. Since the ground can freeze overnight, boiling water will make it drinkable. This is not true, since there will always be dirt. It is best that your water first purifies this in different ways, such as a panties or a bottle, and cut 2 halves, and on the side with the cap, you make 2 or 3 holes, and fill the bottle with moss and stones etc., where you pour the water through in the other half, by which it is more purified and healthier. And then you boil your water and it will be drinkable. All unknown plants not shown in this video offer are 9/10 not edible, so you stay away from it.